Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Cedar Creek Fire virtual community meeting. I'm Stan Hinatsu, the Public Information Officer for Pacific Northwest Team 3. Tonight we're just going to give you a quick overview of what's happening with the fire at the conference as well. And then after that, we will take questions from Facebook. We've also received some questions prior to the meeting, and so we'll attempt to answer those as well. Tonight we have with us Molly Julia. I can't. I mess up your name all the time. Anyway, Molly is here, the district ranger for the Middle Fork Ranger District out here on the Willamette National Forest, and she'll be followed by Randy Johnson, our incident commander with Pacific Northwest Team 2 or 3. And then Tim Barnett will give us a quick update on what's happening with the fire. So Molly, we'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Molly Julia. I'm the Middle Fork District Ranger and Agency Administrator trainee on this fire. As we all know, firefighting is inherently dangerous work. We've been unfortunately reminded of that here in the last couple of weeks. And so as we look at this fire and we look at what we're protecting out there on the landscape, we're constantly balancing those two things. And so there's those things we care about out on the landscape here for this fire specifically, the city of Oak Ridge, the Highway 58 corridor, Waldo Lake, I know is an important place for a lot of people around here and worldwide, Waldo Lake Wilderness, and how can we protect those places while providing for firefighter safety and public safety. That's what we anchor into as we look at the strategies for how we're managing this fire, and it's what we come back to as a forest and working with our teams is how can we protect those values we care about, and how can we keep our firefighters and our public safe. I know that having fire here on the Middle Fork, it's a lot for the community, for our partners to have 2 years in a row, and I appreciate your patience and also all of the support and cooperation that we've gotten from so many of you these last weeks, and I ask you to keep with us as we keep managing this fire and moving forward. Thanks, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Molly. Before I bring Randy up, just wanted to let you know, just give us a little patience as there's a train track behind us, and if the train comes roaring by during our meeting, we'll take a little pause until they pass by. So Randy?
Thanks, Stan. Good evening, everyone. Randy Johnson, Incident Commander, Pacific Northwest Team 3. We are one of 2 national incident management teams hosted here in Northwest Washington, Oregon. We came in and replaced PNW 2, the other Type 1 team that was here for ahead of us. So who are we? We're an interagency incident management team made up of folks from many disciplines, a vast array of experience, including individuals from the federal land management agencies, Forest Service, BLM, Park Service, Fish and Wildlife, all of those agencies, as well as state agencies, Washington Department of Natural Resources, Oregon Department of Forestry assists us at times as well with some individuals. We have folks from eastern states that come out and assist us as well, North Carolina and back in that country. So it's a very broad cross-section of individuals and experience. We are an all-risk, all-hazard incident management team that not only manages large fire for the Northwest and across the country, but also all risk incidents. Some of the incidents this team has been involved in over time, many different hurricanes across the country, into Puerto Rico, the space shuttle recovery, and the World Trade Center disaster that happened in 2001. We are, again, a broad cross-section of individuals, and all of those skills come to bear. We have folks from local government agencies with law enforcement background, emergency management background, So all of that comes together to form this this team that brings the right resources to bear to assist in whatever the needs of the incident are. So we're here on the Cedar Creek fire. Also took on one of the new starts that happened from the last lightning that came through. A smaller fire, a little less than about 8 acres now, just out by Hills Creek Reservoir in incident 303, or known as the Slapjack fire. So we also are assisting and managing that incident. On the Cedar Creek fire, we're using that combination of direct and indirect strategies. Where we can go direct, we're doing that. As of yesterday, we've inserted resources, personnel into the wilderness in an area that the fire had moved to over the last few days. That allowed us an opportunity to go in and get tighter to the perimeter and take some direct action on that flank. Additionally, we're doing that same direct approach to the 303 incident of the Slapjack fire. In other areas of the Cedar Creek fire where there are not locations that allow that type of direct attack, we're using the indirect approach and looking for opportunities, looking for areas that ridges, road systems, natural features that allow us to have access to put in fire line, to establish a break in fuels, and for future use as the fire gets to a place where we can then engage it safely and contain it in those features. So it is truly that combination of those tactics that are being employed on this incident at this time. We reevaluate that on a daily basis. We have been completing this on this incident throughout the life of the incident, what's referred to as a strategic risk assessment, where we bring together a group of seasoned professionals and apply a very robust risk management, deliberate risk management approach to the incident. Take into account the values at risk. You heard Molly talk about some of those values. We understand the value of obviously of Oak Ridge and the community. When we consider that value or those values, it's not just the fire directly impacting, but it's the overall impact to the community that we're interested in, to include smoke and disruption to traffic and travel, those things. Another one of the values being that Highway 58 corridor that we're most interested in maintaining safe access for the public through there, as well as Waldo Lake, as was mentioned, and understanding the importance of that pristine value. So we consider all those things. We apply the risk management mitigations that we have at our disposal, and where possible, we'll take the action that we can with the least amount of risk to the firefighters. Unfortunately, the Willamette Forest has suffered over the past year now 3 separate fatalities due to overhead hazards, tree strikes. That weighs heavily on all of us. This team was here on the Middle Fork fire last year. The day after we left, there was a fatality on that fire. There's been 2 more fatalities this year just south of us. So we weighed that into all of our decisions. We process that, and we look for those opportunities where we can put people with a reasonable amount of safety, understanding this job is inherently risky, as you've heard mentioned. We understand that, but that doesn't mean we just go forward without considering all of the risks, without considering other options that might get us to a place where we can continue to work to suppress this fire, as well as protect the communities and the values at risk. So we're happy to be here. We are unhappy that you're having to deal with this, but are honored that we have the opportunity to come back to the Middle Fork Ranger District, Oak Ridge community specifically, and serve you all in the community to the best of our abilities. So we will continue to work on this incident, and we are available through our PIO shops, through our liaison officers out and about in the community to answer questions and take input from you as best we can. So thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Randy. We'll turn it over to Tim Barnett, our operations chief. He'll give us a little overview of what's happening today on the fire.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Overall, today on the fire, we had a pretty good day. I'm going to show you on the map, basically by pointing at some of these areas where we're looking at going indirect, which is basically what Randy was talking about, strategy and indirect and direct. So a line over here off the 19 road that goes through the Huckleberry OHV and prep that out. So that's a big indirect piece of line, but that's getting near completed. We'll try to have that completed within the next 3 days. Heading over into Division Alpha, if you can see on the map, in Division Alpha, we continue to prep this line. This is part of that bigger indirect strategy as well. So today we're working on that, getting it chipped, masticated, which is big heavy equipment that just shreds the brush and raises the canopy of the tree height, basically to give us a better area to fight fire off of if we were to have to burn that area. And then heading over into Division Delta, basically coming off of some of our 24, 23 road system, we end up getting this buttoned up today. The line is complete over in that area, and so we're going to prioritize the next 3 days in there, getting firefighters bumped around to different areas where we have more work to do for them. So this is complete off out into the wilderness. We still have a little bit of chipping to do and a little bit of masticating. So if you can see the map, this Division Golf is unstaffed, prioritizing where the fires likely to not go through old fire scars and not really have a big impact out here to the north on this side. We're not as concerned with that based off of the priorities and values that were given to us from the fire. So if you can see the long edge where the fire hit Waldo Lake, that created the direct opportunity that Randy was talking about. So for today, we have folks in here going direct. We have back on the Forest Service piece that's not in the wilderness, we have a couple of dozers that came in off of the east Koch Mountain Road, and we're able to go direct on this piece of line right in here. So we're trying to have the crews tie in with the heavy equipment between Division Hotel and Tango, and that's what we'll be working on over the next 3 days. Heading into Division Tango, we do have this fire along the Black Creek Road. Many of you are probably familiar with that. We brought fire down with PSD, and we were able to hold that. We did use helicopters today on each side of it, so that's probably what you guys have seen if you're living around here, seeing where the helicopter's going. They're going right in here, keeping that in check and giving us time so that we can go ahead and get that secure. And then similarly on this side, we don't want the fire to get going out here until we get some more of this road system. We're looking to check that completed. So that's where the helicopters are working today. Down in Division Kilo, as back to an indirect strategy, we have to have a plan. If this primary line isn't holding, we have to have a secondary plan, tertiary plan. So the Fuji Mountain Trail is this Division Kilo. We're getting that prepped right now. There's about 2 to 3 days worth of work in there left to complete that piece. And then on down lower, you see November. That's the 5883 road, and that road's being prepped to have a more indirect line that would keep that fire off of the 58 corridor, which is listed as the second priority that Molly had given to us. And so we'll get that road system prepped out. It keeps it off of the railroad and the 58 corridor. So 5883, and then heading out into Group 71. This is the other completion of this north-south line that helps protect the number one value as given is Oak Ridge, and we anticipate still having 4 or 5 more days worth of work on that line to get that prepped and ready. And then Division X-ray that Randy talked about, we went direct on that. We were able to get a line around that. We got that a lot of work done in there. We have hose all the way around it, and if you're able to see that fire the last few days, you can tell that today we really put a hurt on it. We're still mopping it up. Anticipate doing that for the next 2 to 3 days. Really heavy duff in there, and we're just really happy we could catch that fire. So that's what we have.
Thank you, Tim. Before we go to answering questions, I just want to let folks know that Rob Fisher, our Air Resource Advisor, is here. So if you have any questions about smoke, we can bring him up and he can answer those questions. So we do have a few questions that we received earlier today, and I'm going to ask Randy to come up to speak to those questions. So the first one, Randy, for you is why are we only 0% contained?
0% containment. That's a great question. Trust me, that's a conversation that we've had since we received the incident. Really, it's a function of process, policy, and standards that we have to operate under. There is a definition in the policies that we adhere to that speaks specifically to what containment means and how we measure containment. So really, the simplest terms are when we've got a black line, meaning we have fire burned to the containment feature we're using, whether that's a road, a hand line that we've installed, a natural feature, whatever that might be. Once that fire has burned to that, it's been mopped up, it's cold black edge at our containment feature, we can start then measuring and considering that to be contained. Given a lot of the indirect strategy that we're doing and not a lot of opportunities for that direct approach, we haven't had an opportunity to do a lot that kind of work. The stuff that we're doing in our division hotel, which is that finger of fire that is running out towards Waldo Lake, where we are going direct, will give us an opportunity to start looking at some percent of containment. But we're pretty conservative overall about how we use those numbers. We don't want to put out information or a number that we're not really comfortable that, yep, we've got cold hard black to the control feature and there's no risk of escape from that particular part of the fire. So that's the main reason that we hold back on naming any percent of containment. It's not for lack of work. The miles and miles of road prep and trail prep that have been done are a lot of that effort and where the work's been done. And there will be opportunities again as we go forward to be more direct and potentially opportunities to start showing some containment. But we do that when we're certain that we have containment.
Randy, I'm going to keep you up there for another question. How is this fire financed? Is it through the National Forest budget, or do wildland fires have their own budget?
Well, I'm going to take a stab at this. I'll ask that Molly or if I say something inappropriate. But generally speaking, the best way to answer that is we pay for it. And when I say we, I mean the taxpayers. We all pay for the suppression costs. It all comes out of the tax dollars of our government. Are there specific budgets? Yes, there are dollars appropriated to the Forest Service for fire suppression. Absolutely, and that is where the bulk of the funding comes from.
Great, thank you. There's another two-part question, and I'll ask Rob to come up to answer the first part of the question, then Molly the second part. So the first part of the question is, how much has smoke impacted the campers and the campgrounds on the east side of Waldo Lake?
Okay, it's a great question. Waldo Lake is downwind of the fire, and I've been out to the campgrounds, and the day I was out there, it was a couple days ago, smoke was noticeable. Of course, it was visible because you can see across the lake, and so there was some visibility impairment, and I could smell it. I was told by someone else who went out there on the team that some campers had mentioned that they have smelled it and have seen it. So it is impacting the campers, and so I don't believe that it's impacting them at a level that's hazardous. That's my opinion right now.
Right. All right. Thank you. The second part of the question we'll throw to Molly then. Do you anticipate closing campgrounds in the near future, and it relates to the smoke piece?
Oh, related to the smoke? If we got reports from Rob or another air resource advisor saying that there were unhealthy levels of smoke, we would certainly let people know. I don't think we would actually close the campgrounds because of smoke levels. We would close the campgrounds if we thought that fire was going to get over into that area, and we've worked, the team has worked, and the county sheriff has worked to set some trigger points for when we would do that and do it in an orderly fashion, so that people have time to get out of there. So we're carefully monitoring that, and feel like we can give people enough time to leave by Waldo Road and not in a panicked way.
Thank you, Molly. And Tim, quick question for you.
Sure.
So the question is, are we drawing water from Waldo Lake?
We are not drawing any water from Waldo Lake. There's many lakes out there that we are drawing water from, but none of them are Waldo. We're looking at Odell with the scoopers, and then there's a bunch of ponds near where the fire is at, outside there, Green Lake being one of them. There's probably 5 or 6 of those smaller ponds that we're able to dip helicopters out of, and then we have Odell for the scoopers.
Okay, Tim, why don't you stay up there? I know it's a bit of a speculation, but the question is, do you expect the fire to reach Blair Lake and or Spring Prairie? I'm not sure.
Let's see. Well, yeah, that's pretty far out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There is a possibility, but I would say that's pretty low based on the modeling that they've used with FS Pro runs. There's basically percentage chance that the fire would have an opportunity to grow like that with a pretty big event, similar to like a 2020 type event or something like that, very rare 100-year type event, that it could potentially go out that far. We're preparing those lines in for that worst case scenario so that we're not caught off guard, but I would say it's a low probability, but one that we want to be prepared for.
Right. Thank you, Tim. All right. We don't have any more questions coming in at the moment, and if you have any questions that you still want to ask, feel free to post them on Facebook, and we'll monitor those and get back with you as soon as we can. So anyway, just want to thank you again for your patience and attending and giving your time away to watch us to get an overview of the fire. And just if you want to stay abreast of the fire, please follow our Facebook, NC Web feeds, as well as just give us a call here at the Information Center. So anyway, thank you again, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.